Just another word on the absolutely comical preoccupations of our political class in this country. These are the people, the politicians, the bureaucrats and other authorities, of course, who were happy to implement a virtual police state in response to the COVID-19 virus, but who seem to be struck dumb and impotent in the face of Islamist fanatics chanting death to Jews. They love to strike a tone of panic and crisis on some things like COVID and climate change, while they pretend away deeply serious problems like ancient enmities and prejudices that threaten people and tear our peaceful society apart. And into this mix, let me remind you about the South Australian Chief Medical Bureaucrat, Professor Nicola Spurrier. You remember her. She's the nutty professor who locked down her whole state because she thought people were catching COVID from pizza boxes, locking down the state and closing its borders when confronted with just a handful of cases. And, of course, panicking over footies.
If you are at Adelaide Oval and the ball comes towards you, my advice to you is to duck and just do not touch that ball. Whenever a ball comes towards me, whatever sort of ball, whether it's a basketball or a football, my inclination is to duck. Regardless of COVID, this ball has been touched by many sweaty men out there on the field. Just go and sanitise your hands before you start eating your chips.
Well, she's gone from balls to the big sphere in space, our planet. Spurrier has issued her regular report on the state of public health in her state, and she's pretty keen to maintain the sense of crisis. Indeed, she talks about perma-crisis, and her agent of panic this time is climate change. I kid you not. In this report, she says climate change is the most significant global threat to human health. The planet is getting hotter and is experiencing more extreme weather events such as flooding and bushfire. This is being seen in South Australia, Australia and internationally, and we need to respond to this threat today, not tomorrow or in the distant future. This stuff is alarmist, it's hysterical and it's unscientific. It could have been uttered by King Charles III or Greta Thunberg. So what is it doing in a public health report, you ask? Well, Spurrier says climate change is the most significant threat to global health. Well, I suppose if we're all going to drown in boiling oceans, that's pretty bad for your health. She goes on to say that with the changing climate, there are more disasters and events occurring simultaneously and back to back. The term perma-crisis reflects the possibility that our communities could remain in a state of crisis due to the rapidity, frequency and number of these events. Professor Spurrier is the very embodiment of perma-crisis. She is frightening kids, even though the statistics show no definitive increase in these natural disasters. But luckily, the one tool that Spurrier has in her public health toolbox will work for climate change too. Lock us down, Professor. Lock down your state, lock down the country, shut the borders, lock down the world. That will reduce emissions dramatically. That will solve your perma-crisis. Let's have permanent lockdown instead of a perma-crisis. That way there won't be any footies to worry about either. Lock everyone again, lock them down again, Professor. Panic them over climate change this time, generate fear about the planet and lock them all down.